gusts and gusty winds.
All right, thanks, Magdalena. It is Wednesday morning throughout Australia. Great to have you with us on Breakfast. It's time to talk politics with our political insiders. Ed Husic from Labor, Josh Frydenberg from Liberal. Good morning to you both. Great to have you with us.
Morning, Paul.
Morning.
Morning, Ed.
G'day, Josh. Just so hard to think of what we should talk about.
I'm out of the doghouse now. I'm standing outside Parliament House.
Yes, absolutely.
Josh is in the dark where I normally stand.
Yep, that's right. That's because of your party's shameful behaviour in the House yesterday, Ed.
You just had to get started.
We need to talk about yesterday. We need to talk about what happened, obviously, because it is the big story for the country. Are you proud of what your party did yesterday, Ed?
Well, I think Peter Slipper made the right call and making the decision to step down.
Doesn't that mean that you think you and the Prime Minister made the wrong call?
Well, I think it's a reflection of the fact that, Peter made the wrong call in relation to, all the discussion about the text messages and some of those views that he'd expressed. And he'd made the decision that, he just basically couldn't stand in that position anymore. I've said here previously, and I don't back away from the words that I've said previously about in his role as Speaker within the chamber. He was very good. He brought balance and he made sure that the House behaved. But now we have the situation where he's had to step down and he's made that call. Well, and we've got Anna Burke, who equally will be a very good Speaker.
He didn't have to step down because I'm assuming you voted with Labor that he shouldn't have to step down. You voted that way. So he didn't have to step down. And that, I think, is shameful, Ed.
Well, no, because I'm not, and a lot of us, particularly on the Labor side, as the PM rightly pointed out, weren't going to be lectured to effectively by a person who has his own fault and has made his own bad calls in the form of the Leader of the Opposition. And you had a resolution by the end of the day in the form of the Speaker stepping down.
He wasn't lecturing, though, was he? He was calling for a little bit of consistency from the Prime Minister and from Labor. I mean, if the Prime Minister clearly doesn't like aspects of Tony Abbott's behaviour, then how can she defend it in Peter Slipper? She should have sacked him.
Exactly.
No way, Paul. Look, the thing is, you just made reference to the term consistency, and that consistency is not evident in the form of the Leader of the Opposition.
But we're not talking about the Leader of the Opposition. We're not. This is what you do all the time. We're not talking about the Opposition. We're talking about you. We're talking about Julia Gillard. We're talking about the Speaker.
You're talking about a resolution that was brought on by the Opposition, a politically motivated. This wasn't about lifting the standards of Parliament from a group of people who've done a lot to reduce the standards of Parliament. So I'm sorry, we're just going to disagree on that point.
Josh, how did you feel about the way things ran yesterday? Because as a taxpayer, it cost me a fortune.
Well, it was high drama, Paul. You could have sold tickets with popcorn to sit in the parliamentary gallery last night. But the true fact of the matter is that the Prime Minister's failed a test of leadership. We warned that appointing Peter Slipper to the chair would end in tears, and it has. And in the process, the Prime Minister double-crossed Andrew Wilkie. Now she needs to rely on his vote to stay in government. It also exposes the hypocrisy of the government's attempt to defame Tony Abbott, calling him a misogynist and a sexist, because there they were in the Parliament yesterday defending Peter Slipper in a vote, as you point out, after his hideous texts between him and James Ashby.
Having said that, Tony Abbott did drop the ball yesterday in that extraordinary gaffe by basically quoting the hideous comments that were made by Jones. Now, he says that he had basically forgotten those comments, or at least they didn't come to mind at the time. You've got to admit, that was a huge gaffe, wasn't it?
No, and he didn't repeat the comments of Jones.
Well, he effectively did, actually, Josh. He effectively did.
No, he has explicitly rejected Alan Jones's comments when that he made about the Prime Minister's father.
But the reference to Parliament dying of shame was just a little bit close to be sensible, wasn't it?
Look, it was an unfortunate, but the point is we've moved on from that debate, and it was always a distraction for the government from its focus on policy. Now that Peter Slipper has gone, we're back to a Parliament which is hanging by just one vote, and I think the Prime Minister has a lot to answer for, Paul, for yesterday's failure of leadership.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Josh. Ed, can I just ask you this question personally? Did you know in your heart of hearts that there was no way Peter Slipper would again be Speaker of the House? Did you know he would never again take that seat?
Heart of hearts, I couldn't. You just don't know the way that things unfold. Let's face it, we started yesterday with a person in the role of Speaker, and it changed within the course of that one day. And it's just the nature of political events as they stand in this Parliament. But ultimately, you know, he made the right call.
He did, yes.
And the other thing is too, I'm not necessarily going to stand here and not make comment in reference to others saying, well, you know, you brought this on yourself. I mean, you know, Peter Slipper was pre-selected and endorsed by the Liberal Party
But that's
on
all
many
history,
occasions.
though. That is all history.
Well, of course it is.
I'm not going to sit here and say that the other guys are squeaky clean. We know they're not. But this isn't about the other guys, is it? We can have a separate conversation about them. This is about the government. It's about the Prime Minister. It's about you voting to keep a shabby man in the job of Speaker of the House. And in your heart of hearts, I can't imagine that you didn't taste just a little bit of blood in your mouth when you had to cast that vote yesterday.
No, I didn't, and frankly, it was a political manoeuvre that was executed by the opposition yesterday. They had no interest in raising the standards of Parliament, or you'd see their behaviour completely transform to ensure that that happens.
Yeah, but
and the
I
type
think
of commentary that we get from those opposite. No, but Paul, you're asking me about my position in relation to the vote.
That you're
and I'm
quoting
saying
the
to you and
opposition,
looking
you
straight
see, and you
down
quote the opposition because you can't
straight-
defend yourself.
No, because as I said, you had a situation. Two things happened yesterday. One, that they'd tried a political stunt in the Parliament, and two, that you saw the Speaker step down by the end of the day.
If I was Kevin Rudd, Ed, I would be quite pleased with what happened yesterday. I would think there's a glimmer of hope. The window is slightly opened.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
I don't think so. I think Kevin's known Peter Slipper for many years as well, and I think yesterday when you saw in Peter Slipper's resignation, you saw the culmination of a whole lot of events that impacted on a person as a human being, and I think a lot of people were very conscious of that.
All right, so
yesterday
you don't think this has opened the door or the window at all for Kevin Rudd?
I completely, you know, it's in terms of looking at the situation itself, it's completely removed from what we've got right now standing before us.
Josh, do you think it has, just quickly, do you think it has any implications for Kevin Rudd's dream of leadership?
Absolutely. I think this was a graphic failure of the Prime Minister's leadership. The polls are trending against her. Yesterday, her chairman of the caucus resigned, Daryl Mellom. I think it's all downhill for the Prime Minister and uphill for Kevin Rudd, who's going to return probably to the leadership, maybe even in the next few months.
All right, Josh Frydenberg, Ed Husick, thank you very much for joining us again. And I'm so